Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're doing well. My name's Justin. I play guitar here in Nashville on songs, and I have kind of an embarrassing story, but it's long enough ago now that I can laugh about it. And then also I want to talk about how it's sort of helped me in my career, just having that experience. So when I moved to Nashville in 2006, I didn't know a single person. And I would go out to every club or bar or venue that was having any kind of band play or writers round or whatever, and I would just hang out and talk to people. And I got a gig, I think it was my first in-town like country kind of rock gig with an independent artist. And she would throw a bunch of covers in her set. You know, this is a very common thing for people who are making their own music while trying to get further into the scene. They'll do sets that involve a lot of covers. And so, you know, early on, like I didn't step foot into town and get straight on someone's bus or walk straight into the studio or anything like that. So this one night I was at a place called the Blue Bar. And there was a group of writers who had all decided to pitch in and hire a band so they could each do like one or two of their own songs with a full band, right? And I remember standing in the back of the room and several different writers were getting up and doing their songs or whatever. I thought the band sounded great. Everybody was playing really well. Well, at one point in the show, the guy who was playing electric guitar, and I don't even know what his name is. I didn't at the time, and I don't now. He came down off the stage, and he had just got a voicemail about his bus call for the next week. He was on a touring gig, and apparently, because they were going all the way to Boston or something like that, they had to leave at 5 p.m. instead of the normal, like, 10:30, 11 p.m. that your bus would be wheels up out of town. Long drive to the Northeast, right? So he comes down and tells the main writer who had put the entire thing together, and I think it was her band basically. He tells her that I'm really sorry, I know we got this gig next week, but I can't do it. My bus is leaving before we play. She's like, oh, it's no big deal, don't worry about it. And I was standing right behind her when this conversation happened, and I could hear it. It was between songs, so the band wasn't playing. It wasn't loud in the room. And so I kind of like tapped her on the shoulder and I said, hey, I know you don't know who I am. My name's Justin. I play guitar. I would love to do this next week and take care of it for you. I'm sure you have people you want to call that you know or whatever, but if you get into a tight spot, I would love to play for you next week. I would take care of it so you don't even have to worry about it. I'll take a couple seconds and tell you about something I'm going to give away for free through this channel that I think you are really going to like and get a lot of mileage out of. We're going to discuss 5 sounds that every guitar player needs to have an absolute mastery of. From tremolo, how to use all the different wave shapes and kinds of tremolo, speed and depth considerations, reverb, spring versus plate, versus big ambient pad reverb. What are the considerations there? We're going to talk about delay, a good slapback, a good solo enhancing delay, rhythmic delays, and then you can do some sort of bed type stuff too, where it's not quite a reverb, it's not quite a delay, it almost sounds like something in between and functions as both kind of. And we'll talk about overdrives. We'll talk about how to dial in good sounds with pedals so that you don't just hear pedal. It's a big pet peeve of mine. I hear a lot of guitar players step on an overdrive pedal and then all I hear is pedal. I don't hear the amp, I don't hear the guitar as much. I hear that compressed, solid state, expensive clipping thing of the pedal, you know. Look for that, it'll be free on the channel for a limited time. We ended up exchanging phone numbers, and she ended up sending me a couple songs, and she and her acoustic guitar player, who's my dear friend Todd Lombardo, came over and we just played through a couple of her songs and they were like, okay, great, okay, good, you know, because you never know. Even in a town like Nashville, there's a lot of people who present themselves in one way as responsible or a great team player or someone who does their homework or whatever, or you read something into it that's not really there. Well, they were thankful to find that I had really done my homework and I was very serious about this. I had moved to this town from several states away and brought my dear wife with me of 1 year. We moved on our 1-year anniversary. We didn't really know anybody, and so this was like, you know, one of those things that happened really nicely, right? And I tell this story to pretty much every new guitar player I meet. Like, if you're not out at all of these shows, just hanging around, just not being like overly eager and anxious to get involved and talking about yourself all the time or whatever, man, people can just smell that a mile away, you know. But just being cool, like, hey, I would love to help you out. You guys sound really great. Can I buy you breakfast or a coffee and just talk about music? You know, that's how that's how I got started. It was a very long, hard climb to the middle. Is what I tell people. So anyway, let's fast forward. I got this gig. It was just with this artist named Jamie Foxx. She was a girl with blonde hair, not the actor. Okay, and she would do these gigs in town. Some of them would be down in the Muscle Shoals, Florence, Decatur, Alabama area. And we would drive and play 4 hours with like short breaks, mostly covers, some of her originals. And we'd drive back to Nashville at 2 in the morning. I mean, that's paying your dues, you know. So we got this gig at a place called the Tin Roof, which was a bar, is a bar. I haven't been. I drive past this area all the time. I drive down to Montbriand to the Circle to go to Music Row all the time. So we were in the middle of this gig at the Tin Roof, and the manager or the head bartender would cut us short on our sets sometimes. And I feel like it really made Jamie upset. Like, we rehearsed all this, we're gonna play it, okay? Well, we start playing Tush by ZZ Top, all right? You know the, how's it go? Like, I launch into that, and no sooner than I play that amount of the song does that head bartender come running and, like, trying to tell us to stop playing. Like he does all the time, just cuts us off, you know, and Jamie wasn't having it. And so we finished the song and we were like, man, if that guy doesn't have us back, whatever. Like, this is really frustrating to be in the middle of a song and getting cut off, you know. Well, it turns out that Billy Gibbons, the most recognizable guitar player on the entire planet currently living. Like, nobody knows exactly who that is as much as Billy Gibbons, right? The beard, he's got the hat, the sunglasses, and he was fully dressed like that. We couldn't see him. So he sat down and ordered a beer at the bar, like with one other person, I guess. And no sooner than he receives his beer and takes a drink, imagine from his perspective, then he hears the band launch into Tush, and he's like, oh, you gotta be freaking kidding me. And that's exactly what he said, except not the PG version. And he left. He put a 20 down on the bar and walked out immediately. And we had no idea. We just thought that the manager was being dramatic and controlling, like we felt we had experience of him doing before. So, oh gosh, man, that's one of those memories that pops into your mind at the most inopportune times, and you sort of you think about it and you cringe in real time, and then you sort of mellow out and you're like, you know what, it was a long time ago. It's not a big deal. He doesn't know who I am, so well, I mean, now I'm putting it out there. So, what did this teach me about session playing? I want to keep this video somewhat short because I'm in the middle of shooting a bunch of content that I think is going to be really, really great. this taught me, you know, when you get into sessions, when you get into music in Nashville, you sort of feel like, wow, I'm part of this legendary thing. All my absolute favorite players are here, and they're working, and I'm working, and somehow I'm included in this thing that has always been larger than life, that I've had stars in my eyes about, you know? Well, there's levels to that, right? Like you could get on a touring gig with somebody that you really like, and then you're splitting up parts and you know, figuring out who's doing what. Well, then you could also get on a session with one of your heroes, right? And that has happened to me. I would say that every guy that has come into town before me and gone through the process of becoming a session player and playing on records, like they're all my heroes for very different reasons, aspects of their playing that I just absolutely love. I respect every single one of them. Well, the one thing that you don't want to do is to try to do their thing while they're on the session with you. Like, don't try to guess what they're going to go for, or don't go for the same exact thing, you know? When I was playing with JT, like, okay, I'm going to be the new guy who plays just some like grungy rhythm guitar behind whatever you come up with, because I can tell that everybody's looking to you to kind of guide and steer the ship for this song or these songs on this session. Like, I'm going to take a back seat. I don't need to, you know, try to compete with him or try to like make it seem like I really deserve to be here. I need to, you know, people hire me because I do this over the top thing, so I'm going to do this over the top thing regardless of what you're doing, you know, like just not listening and stuff like that. So the situation at the bar years and years ago with Billy Gibbons, it looked like, you know, oh, here comes Billy Gibbons, let's play a cover of your own song and draw a bunch of attention to you, you know. Let's do your thing right in front of you. Like that, I hate that was the perception and that we didn't get it, you know, because of this pre-existing issue with this bartender. But that's a thing that happens on sessions, you know. Rob told me this, and I'm sure somebody told him this long before. It's just kind of a known thing when someone new gets in, they're really trying to prove themselves. And Rob, the way Rob put it is, it's pretty classic Rob, very dry, he's like, man, nothing worse than being on the gig with the competition, you know? And man, I took that to heart. So I don't want to try to hog all the... There's older guitar players that I won't mention by name who are kind of notorious for getting into a session with another guitar player and saying, well, man, I'll just do all the solos and all the sig licks and you can kind of do everything else. That sound cool? I mean, it's one thing if the artist says, hey, I hired you for lead guitar and you for rhythm guitar, or you for guitar 1 and you for guitar 2, and you know that's their guy. That's one thing. It's another thing for a guitar player just to go tell another guitar player that when you're on the same gig, making the same scale wage, playing on the same record, you're trying to make a record. You're not trying to, you know, take the spotlight or whatever. So that situation with Billy Gibbons in the bar was unfortunate, but it kind of helped click with this other thing that when I get on a session, I don't want to try to compete with whoever else it's going to be. I'm not going to constantly undermine what they're doing, or, you know, if they're known for doing a thing and I can tell they're like gearing up to do that and playing it, I'm not going to try to do the same thing. There's another older guitar player who was notorious for this. He would listen to guitar players and pedal steel players on a session and listen to the hooks that they were playing. Like, say somebody was just practicing, you know, some lick or whatever, and they're not even turned on. You're not hearing it in the cans. He would have an ear off in the cans and he would hear somebody like, you know, like you can hear that through my mic just like he would in the room. So he would, once the talkback or the session loaded and everybody could hear themselves, in the in their cans, he would go, "Hey, what about this lick?" Or whatever it was, and totally and completely steal it from somebody else and try to take the credit for it. And he thought it was hilarious. And I guarantee you, a lot of other people did not think that was hilarious at all. And of all the people from that era, he's definitely one of the ones that I don't see anymore. He's not even in town, you know? So there's a real team player mindset and a check the ego at the door, just let your playing speak for you, you know? I know, like, I've talked before, like, people talk about some of these legendary players like they're absolute assassins, but they don't say a word. They just let their playing do the talking, you know? And they're not trying to elbow their way into whatever's going on and feel like they got to be the center of attention or anything like that. So anyway, I made Billy Gibbons get up and leave his beer at the bar. Sorry, I didn't know, man. I just didn't know. I've never had a chance to meet him. I know he's in and around the circles, and if I ever, I would love to tell him that story and say, you know, that was a total mistake. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.